We're joined by Heidi Giokos, who will give us an update as to what's going on. The taps are running dry in areas of Gauteng, and whether there are any programs that are being implemented, even contingency plans around water tankers to ease this burden. Good afternoon to you, Heidi. What's happening now?
Yes, indeed, Cindy. We are roving around the city of Johannesburg and the Gauteng province, as we do understand that a number of areas have been without water. This is not a new problem. It's been like this some areas for weeks on end that just do not have access to water. We've been trying to engage with Joburg Water and Rand Water. Luckily, we got an interview with Joburg Water a couple of days ago, but there is a briefing that is expected at 2 o'clock this afternoon with Joburg Water and the MMC for Infrastructure and Environment, which is basically responsible for the infrastructure mess that we are seeing when it comes to Joburg Water. Many residents extremely frustrated. We are in Midrand now, and I am joined by the Ward Councillor, Annette. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. Huge frustration, so much frustration that residents are actually just not willing to engage with us at the moment. They just want to get their water and leave. But just tell us for how long the Midrand area has been without water.
Well, I started getting calls on about Tuesday, Wednesday this week to say that there's no water in many areas in the ward. I then discovered through the Midrand depot that the low-lying areas are getting water, but the higher-lying areas are not getting water. I then found out that all the reservoirs were empty except for Grand Central, who still had water, and they were supplying water from there for the last 2 days. Yesterday, the tankers were filled in Marlborough across the highway on the Kuruleni side. So I don't know where they're getting water from. But certainly we have had tankers. Our depot manager tells us we've got 25 JoJo tanks out there, and we've got 27 tankers that are out there in the space for people to use. But as you see here, it's not really control the water, because there's a lot of wastage here as well, because the buckets are all different sizes. There's no control button to say you can only put so much in. So they waste. It's a lot of wastage here as well. But the residents in general are very annoyed. They are. A lot of them have told me they're not going to pay taxes. Some have even said they're not voting in the next election. But it doesn't help really by them saying that unless they do something about it. So
sorry to interject. So I want to ask you what has been communicated to you as a ward councillor by Joburg Water, for example, because there have been a number of explanations, if I can call them that, that there was an issue with the Zekerbosch water treatment plant and a number of other issues contributing to this water crisis that we are facing. What has been communicated to you as a ward councillor, and what are you telling residents? Because they obviously come to you and say, where's the water?
Okay, so the first thing was that we are being throttled by Rand Water, and the city's not getting more water, and that's why the tanks are running empty. The second thing was that with load shedding, it's exacerbating the problem, because when there's load shedding, they can't pump water to the reservoirs. Then we heard that the city of Joburg owes Rand Water a large amount of money, and they haven't paid Rand Water. So we don't really know what's going on. I'm saying to the residents that I think that Rand Water is not telling us the truth from their side, and we need to find out more about what they're doing. We've managed to get our MP from national government to come up to Johannesburg. He will be coming here at 1:30 today to address the residents, and we will then take that back to the national committee. We've also put out a lot of mechanisms for residents to report water leaks and such like. A lot of businesses are watering their gardens and their plants at their offices also during the day, which needs to stop, because it's just not going to help us.
Okay, Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your insights. We do appreciate it. And that is the ward councillor here in the area, Cindy, just speaking to us about some of the challenges. And you're probably wondering why I'm not, maybe I can just move out of shot, not engaging with the community. But they're so angry and they're so frustrated that they just really want to fetch their water and leave. As you heard the ward councillor speaking, there was one resident that said, I'm just so fed up, I'm actually just going to stop paying taxes and I'm going to stop paying my rates, because what's the point? We don't have electricity. When we do have electricity, we don't have water. So there's obviously a big crisis happening here, and it's not just the Midrand area. There are a number of areas in Gauteng that have just been without water for days on end. I've lost my audio to you, so I think let's just leave you with the shots of people now going back to what I would say the old days, where you would fetch water in buckets because there's just no water coming out of their taps.
Yeah, and quite rightfully so, Heidi, as you're saying that residents are frustrated, especially ratepayers, where you do your part as a responsible citizen. You ensure that you pay for the services provided, and then to be met up with what has now become almost a convenient excuse. We understand that load shedding exacerbates service delivery, especially with the pumping of portable, drinkable water. But nonetheless, this is a perennial problem that stretches over 30 years, a couple of decades that we're talking about. And somehow we continuously find ourselves in this problem. What the ward councillor had highlighted, which is an unintended consequence, is the fact that we will also perpetuate voter apathy, where people are just saying we are fed up. What's the point of voting if your leaders are not, hearing your pleas around just basic constitutional services that are due to communities? The other issue, of course, also being the non-payment of municipalities to service providers, in this case to Rand Water. And this, again, is not unique only to Gauteng. Across the country, there has been issues around municipalities being delinquent and not being able to pay for services, which then depletes the resources of your key infrastructure, bulk infrastructure, state-owned entities. So Heidi Giokos is out and about in Gauteng, where areas such as Midrand, Ebony Park, and around the city as well has been impacted by drying taps and this increase of the weather conditions as well. Temperatures are rising and there's no water, and residents are just simply saying it's not good enough, but they will have to contend and do with the bit that is available to them.